Today, we are going to talk about defining and non-defining noun phrases. But before we go into this concept, you may wonder, what are noun phrases? So, to start with, we should have a revision of nouns first. So, what are nouns? Nouns are words that are used to name people, places, things, or ideas. When we talk about places in Hong Kong, we may mention Lantau Island, Hong Kong Island, the New Territories. When we talk about our school, we would mention Tuen Mun. These names are nouns of places. Take a look of your worksheet. You should find in part A, there is a warm-up exercise. And first of all, you will see a table where there are a number of vocabulary items. And in this table, you can see the columns titled verbs, nouns, adjectives, adverbs, and nouns too. And in the example sentence, good dogs follow orders closely. In this example sentence, you can see that you are going to complete sentences number 1 to number 5. And after you finish writing these 5 sentences, please also highlight the nouns, the first noun and the second noun in each sentence. In this slide, you can see a bigger version of the vocabulary table. And you see that the example sentence actually consists of two nouns. And the first noun, that is dogs, dogs as the subject of the example sentence. And the noun orders, that is the second noun in the example sentence, as the object. For sentences number 1 to number 5, you are going to find out or come up with a suitable word to add as the second noun for each of these sentences. And remember, after completing these 5 sentences, please also highlight all the nouns in each sentence. You have 3 minutes to do this part. You may now start. Time is up. Let's take a look at the answers. So in this table, I'm going to focus on the nouns only. And the first example sentence, you should remember that it reads, good dogs follow orders closely. Dogs is the subject of the example sentence, while orders is the object of the sentence. So start from number one. Professional doctors treat patients diligently. Number two, drivers drive expensive cars carefully. Number three, sportsmen do different sports actively. Number four, mother buy nutritious food early. Number five, graduates choose jobs wisely. And students, please try your best to highlight the second noun or the object of each sentence with highlight pens of a different color. It will help your revision later. After having a revision of the concept of nouns, we should now go to noun phrases. So noun phrases are quite easy to understand and remember. They have the same function as nouns in a sentence, but they consist of at least two words. So usually when we use simple nouns, we may say cars, computer, or school. However, when we want to make the meaning richer or more specific, we may use noun phrases. So instead of cars, we may say or write sport cars. Instead of computer, we may say or write supercomputer, so on and so forth. Here is part B. And here in this table, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 8 vocabulary items, and I'm going to take the box together with you. By taking the boxes, we will see whether each of these vocabulary items is a noun or a noun phrase. The first one, driver, that is obviously a noun. Second one, bus driver, it is a noun phrase. And number 3, amusement park, a noun phrase. School office, a noun phrase. Examination, a noun. Power supply, noun phrase. Languages, noun. And the last one, airport express, noun phrase. Now I'm going to take a look of noun phrases in actual sentences with you. So in the first example sentence, you can see a noun phrase that is doing homework. In this noun phrase, there is a gerund and a noun. In the second example sentence, you can see Hong Kong Disneyland. And altogether, there are only 2 nouns in this particular noun phrase. As for the last example sentence, in the noun phrase washing dishes, there is a gerund and a noun. So you can tell now that usually when we talk about noun phrases, there should be mostly nouns or gerunds. And now I'm going to identify and underline noun phrases with you. However, because of time restrictions, I will check the answers with you in the next slide. Let's go through the answers together. So you can see I have not only underlined the noun phrases here, I have even changed the color of the most important nouns in each of these noun phrases in each sentence. So from sentence number one, you can see that in one sentence there can be more than one noun phrase. And in the first noun phrase, Hong Kong International Airport, of course, you can see that airport is the most important word in the noun phrase, and at the same time, airport is a noun. So you can see or you can deduce that it is obviously a noun phrase. However, you should also be careful or notice that in this particular noun phrase, the second last word is not a noun. I'm talking about the word international. It is an adjective. So now you see, okay, it is not always the case that in a noun phrase there are only nouns or there are only gerunds. It is the same in example sentence number 4. And the noun phrase is one of the most unfortunate Asian countries. And you can find that the word unfortunate is also an adjective. So that means noun phrases can contain not only nouns. In part B, I'm going to explore how noun phrases may contain words other than nouns. So here is the first noun phrase, running for 10 kilometers non-stop. Running, it is a gerund, very obvious. And for, it is a preposition. 10, that is a noun. Kilometers, also a noun. The last word in this noun phrase is non-stop, and it is an adverb. So from this example, we learned that running is a gerund, and gerund is a kind of noun, so it is not problem at all. And two, for is a preposition. Of course, it is not a noun, but it adds information about running. Non-stop, it is obviously an adverb. Although we all know that adverb is usually to add information about the main verb in a sentence, but here it adds information about the gerund running. So in a word, you can say that, you can find out that there can be other kinds of words in a noun phrase. Let's take a look of example 2. The most popular language is Chinese language. There is an article. Most is an adverb. Popular is an adjective. And altogether they form a superlative adjective. Language is noun. Chinese, of course, an adjective. And language, once again, it is a noun. So here you can see it is a very classic situation as many noun phrases end with nouns. In example 3, things are going to a bit more complex. There are actually two noun phrases. As you can see, number three, yes, the third word in this whole group of words is ANDN. So that means there are actually in front of you two noun phrases. So the first word is regular, that is an adjective. The second word is muse, that is a noun, and then a connective, and then drinking, that is a gerund, at, that is a preposition, least, here it is a noun, cups, noun of preposition, water, of course, it is a noun. So you here in this example, you can find out that noun phrases can be long as a sentence. Also, noun phrases can be linked with a connective in between. And here in example 3, the connective is ANDN. Now it's time to write noun phrases yourself. Let's take a look of the example sentence. It is not a good day to go cycling because the weather is bad. And how do you rewrite it? The hint is you can only write a noun or a noun phrase after because of, and here you should write the bad weather. Number one, it is a great idea to clean our home during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the hint is change the verb clean into the gerund cleaning. Now you are going to have 1 minute to write your answer to complete sentence one. You may now start. Okay, time is up. Let's take a look. So the answer is cleaning our home during the COVID-19 pandemic is a great idea. Here are sentence number two and number three. For number two, there are many ways to relax yourself. You can try doing yoga. And the hint to the answer is you should try paraphrasing. That is, find out the noun phrase in the original sentence and use it as the subject when you will write the sentence. Number three, Judy is sporty. She has enjoyed all games since she was little. And the hint is you should try to link the subject, Judy, with the idea of sport by using apostrophe S. So you are going to complete two sentences in one go. So you have 2 minutes and you may now start. Time is up. Let's check the answers. So the answer to sentence 2 is yes, pretty straightforward. Doing yoga is a way to relax yourself. And as for sentence number 3, you should write, ball games are one of Judy's favorite sports or Judy's favorite activities. Sentence number 4. Almost everyone in Hong Kong uses an octopus card. Octopus cards are used most often to pay traffic fees. And number 5. Many people find it difficult to travel overseas each year. So the hint to the answer of sentence 4 is that the common word is the answer. And the hint to sentence number 5 is that you should change the verb travel into the gerund traveling. So the same, you will have 2 minutes. You may now start. The answers should be quite obvious to both sentence number 4 and number 5. So the rewritten sentence of sentence number 4 would be octopus card is the most common way to pay traffic fees in Hong Kong. And as for sentence number 5, traveling overseas is very difficult this year. So you may be able to tell now that noun phrases are not very difficult to learn and master, but there is still more to it. However, we still haven't explored the core topic of this lesson, that is defining noun phrases and non-defining noun phrases. Here is a definition of each of these noun phrases. The first one, defining noun phrases, they are necessary for telling the readers what or who the subject is accurately. So take a look of the example sentence on the top. Italy movie War E was released in 2008. Imagine if the film name War-E was not there. What if the sentence were or was this movie was released in 2008? You would not, okay, or the readers would not understand what the subject is about. All they can tell is it is one of the Disney movies, but the readers will not be sure which movie it is. So that means defining noun phrases are necessary, or you can even say it is have parts of a sentence here. On the other hand, non-defining noun phrases they only provide extra information about the subject, and such noun phrases are not really necessary in that sentence. So in the example sentence at the bottom, you can see War-E, comma, Disney movie, comma, was released in 2008. Imagine if the green words, including the commas, were not there in this sentence, then the sentence would look like War-E was released in 2008. And unless you had no idea about this movie, otherwise, you should be able to understand this sentence perfectly. So, how do you write a defining noun phrase correctly? First of all, at the start of a sentence, when you write the subject, it should not be a proper noun. Because when you write a proper noun, the meaning would be very specific, detailed, accurate, that you would not need to write a defining noun phrase to make sure that the reader will understand the sentence perfectly. So the noun phrase that is War-E has to be specific. It has to make sure that any reader will have no misunderstanding when he or she reads this sentence. You may argue that, sir, Wall-E is the name of the animated movie. It may not be necessarily a noun phrase, but it's just an example to show you under what situation you should write a defining noun phrase. So maybe if you put the name of another movie or another piece of art, the name will be very long, and everyone will agree that the name itself is already a noun phrase. So here is one more example of defining noun phrases. The theme park, Ocean Park, has financial difficulties. And you know that if the sentence read, the theme park has financial difficulties, that is, if the sentence did not have the name Ocean Park, then most readers would have difficulties. Which theme park this sentence is about? But with this noun phrase, Ocean Park, everyone will understand. Actually, it is Ocean Park that is being discussed here in this sentence. Let's move on to non-defining noun phrases. So when you write a sentence with a non-defining noun phrase, first of all, the subject is usually a proper noun. Because if you wrote the subject without a proper noun, then the noun phrase would be very fundamental or essential in making sure that the reader will understand what the subject is about. So here, Japan is the name of a very famous Asian country. And imagine if the non-defining noun phrase was not here in this sentence, the readers would still perfectly understand this sentence. So that's why you can see here the non-defining noun phrase reads an Asian country, and you know it is not very specific, but it is sufficient because we are only writing a non-defining noun phrase in this sentence. So here is one more example. Ben, son of Mr. Lam, never thinks about moving to Hong Kong Island. So here, son of Mr. Lam is the non-defining noun phrase. The reason is Ben is a name, it is a proper noun. And when we write a proper noun or when we write a name, we assume the reader would be able to understand who or what the proper noun is about. And therefore, the noun phrase that follows would be a non-defining noun phrase. So in this last part, I would still like you to try to write a defining or a non-defining noun phrase. And to start with, we have some examples to go over. The first one, Fujifilm, a Japanese company, is one of the few companies that still produce films. So you see here a Japanese company. There is a comma before the noun and another after the noun phrase. These two commas are actually important signs or important hints, okay? That tells you it is a non-defining noun phrase. And in the second sentence, railway systems in Hong Kong. So we know that there are multiple railway systems in Hong Kong. And you see the purple words, light rail transit, west rail line, east rail line, airport express. They are examples of the rail system in Hong Kong. Yet, they are very specific, actually more specific than the subject. And therefore, these examples actually, they are part of the defining noun phrase. So here is sentence one. The most famous university in Hong Kong, blah, 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 is in West District of Hong Kong Island. Although the answer might be quite obvious, but I would still like you to try. You will have 1 minute for this question. You may now start. Let's check the answers, shall we? The most famous university in Hong Kong, the University of Hong Kong, is in West District of Hong Kong Island. So you see here, the noun phrase is purple. That means it is a defining noun phrase. The reason is that The subject is the most famous university in Hong Kong. Although there is a superlative adjective, but still it is not specific. It's not explicit enough for the readers to tell which university it is about. So therefore, the answer should be a defining noun phrase, and there is no comma before or after the noun phrase. Here are three more sentences for you to try and decide whether you should write a defining or a non-defining noun phrase. Number two, Sarah Lee YC got honorary fellowship from the Education University of Hong Kong in 2019. Number three, Donald Trump said global warming did not matter. And number four, online chatting app is more popular than Microsoft Teams and Google Hangouts. You only have 2 minutes to write your answers. You may now start. So here you can see for sentences number two and number three, the subjects are respectively Sarah Lee YC and Donald Trump. And these two subjects are at the same time the names of famous people, and therefore you should write non-defining noun phrases after the subjects. As for sentence number four, the subject is online chatting app, and although the subject consists of three words, however, the meaning is still not specific enough. Therefore, we put the name of the app, that is Zoom, right after it. And here you may wonder why Zoom is all right or correct here, even though it is not a noun phrase. Because in real life or in usage, we don't always write noun phrases. Sometimes, if a noun is good enough, we will just write a noun instead. Our lesson is almost complete. Let's make a comparison between nouns and noun phrases. Compared with nouns, noun phrases are longer and have more complex meanings. They can include other kinds of words such as adjectives, and prepositions. And also, gerunds are especially common in noun phrases. Conclusion: noun phrases are very common, not only in tests for advanced learners, but also beginners. It is easy to find noun phrases even in your own introduction speech. As you become familiar with noun phrases, you will find it easier to answer questions in different papers accurately. Noun phrases are great help when you organize your writing and speech. So in the end, keep trying and using noun phrases will become your second nature very soon. That's all for this lesson. Thank you very much.